and welcome to the chat box, where every week we have an interesting story that we discuss to the very depths of it. And today is no different as we talk drug abuse. Now, Zimbabwe has been intensifying its effort to make sure that the curb on drug abuse is strong and it is intentional. The government has been making more and more efforts to make sure that this thing called drug abuse, this animal, is gone and gone for good. But I won't be talking about drug abuse alone today. Of course, I am joined by none other, Apostle Joe Daniels, in the studio. How are you doing, Apostle?
I'm all right. Kim, how are you doing?
I'm well.
Great, thank you.
All right. And of course, in the studio, I also have one who has gone through the abuse or the use of drugs. His name is Howard. Howard, how are you today?
I'm all right, Kim. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Are you comfortable?
Yeah, I'm comfortable.
Howard, I'm going to start with you.
Yes.
So tell us, what has been your journey when it comes to drug abuse or drugs, maybe not the abuse of them, but the use of drugs?
Okay. I think it's a journey that started in school. You know, peer pressure, which called furirana, you know, taking drugs. I think sometimes it's kutotsvaga kufara kwamnemchita my youth, mainly because of peer pressure. So I believe peer pressure ndo yakanyanya kucontributor in my life. So kuti ndongachifila ndirikusarira wachita zvaruita.
Now, I like the term peer pressure. A lot of
Yeah.
people like to use it. Ndakasangana ni peer pressure.
Yes.
For you, exactly what was it in your circles? Was it sports? Was it music? Was it the girls? What was it that really turned you to say, let me try?
Okay. Mainly it was not because of sports or probably other things. But, you know, they just... I went to a boys' high school. It was a boys' high school. You know, you have my groups whereby you hang out with friends, you know, you'll be having those groups. So in those groups, that's when others start taking such things. And then you feel kind of left behind. It's like the power of an environment. In a certain environment, it contributes a lot. Because I will hang up with these guys, but then slowly but surely you start getting into it. Yeah.
So tell us, how does the church view drug and substance abuse?
It's really bad. You know, the Bible says, be vigilant and be sober. So God actually expects us to operate in a good state of mind. Because at the end of the day, when people take drugs, they've got another influence behind them that causes them to do zhimwe against God.
Yeah.
You see, there are things that a person can be bold to do without taking drugs. So when you take these drugs, you can bypass the authority of your conscience here. When you need to bypass, then you end up doing certain things which contribute to the crimes of this world. So the church is a peace-providing institution. You see that, yeah.
All right, so let's talk about like what Howard was saying, that it started when they were in school. Now, I know a lot of parents find it hard to actually get their children out of their door into the doorstep of church. How can parents be assisted to really catch on to the drug and substance trying and attempting first before it gets to the abuse?
I think first and foremost, before you even talk about bringing the child to church, there must be a good rapport, a good relationship between parents and their kids. I find out that most of the time these days, these parents, they are more busy looking for money. They've lost the essence of being a parent. Probably, but there's also the character side because mwana are in academics, but are a failure and a problem in the society. So my parents and really understand them so that when they start taking these things, they'll be the first to observe. Secondly, they have to be part and parcel of the church administration that makes up the structure of the church. Most of these churches, they only cater for the needs of a certain age group. Maybe from 30, kind of from 45.
Marriage.
You see that. But my needs, maybe between 12 and 30. They don't cater for that group. So if I'm the church, and shoko riri kuparidzwa ndiri kutaura kuti ngatigadzirire tiende kudenga yeti mukomana ari kunetsika nechi nemadrugs. So I point out to the fact that drugs are an identity crisis problem.
Identity crisis problem.
Yeah.
I want to come back to you, Howard.
Yes.
As you went through your journey of actually trying out the drugs and then also getting hooked to them, what made you change? What were the things that you went through that you can say, you know, if I could go back, I wouldn't have?
Okay. I think what made me change, like Apostle has said, there has to be a relationship between the parent and the child. And it happened in my case.
Okay.
I was more closer to my mom, and she had a relationship with me. Then wakandinyengerera kuti ndiende ku church. You get it? But nakaenda ku church, because of the change of environment, I started changing back, lose interest in those things. So I believe with that relationship, my parents wonder, they just strict on their children. You're not supposed to take drugs, you're not supposed to do that. But that doesn't bring change, panengwana. But if you have a relationship where a parent and a child, they share information, they are free to each other, then they suggest certain things. Change cannot environment yauri in a relationship based, So it makes you change on your own. You don't need
what can you say to those parents that say spare the rod and spoil the child? Arguita ma drugs rega ndirove. Arguita ma drugs rega ende kwa tete wake. What can you say to those parents?
I think zononzi ukarowa mwana sterek. It's good, and even the Bible, encourage, But then there is a certain type of level, especially when you're in drug abuse. Ukaramba uchirowa, you tend to become more notorious. You get it? So if you have a relationship, ekuti mubereki anokuratidza zvakaipira zvauri kuita, not kungokudisciplina from nowhere, it speeds up the process of trying to stop drug abuse.
Now, Apostle, before we go to the break, do you think that the church is doing enough to prevent the abuse of drug and substance abuse?
I think we are seeing that change. We are having a lot of youth conferences. Youth conference is like you are dealing with a certain age group. Because even when you start the Bible, there is a word related to old men, young men, and depending on your age group. So I'm seeing a lot of those youths. But for those churches which are not doing that, they need to fuse in certain things that satisfy the needs of that age group. Because my actually told I don't church. I want to church kuno bore.
So there you have it. The discussion goes on. Sometimes it can be the environment that causes one to enter into a world of drug and substance abuse. But Apostle is saying sometimes you just need to shift the way you look at it and approach your children or whoever it is that's in your life so you get them on the correct path. We'll be coming back shortly after the break. Welcome back to the chat box. My name is Kim Sabanda, and of course, joining me in the studio is Apostle Joe Daniels. How are you doing, Apostle? Are we ready to get into it now?
We are ready to roll.
And of course, I've also got Kim. Eunice Kapandura, who's with me, who's also a mental health specialist. Eunice, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Kim.
Now, it's known that the government has been demonstrating a concern on what is happening in the public spheres, a commitment to addressing the issues that each and every single one of us are facing. Now, we've got Eunice, who's a mental health specialist. And I just want to ask you, Eunice, as a mental health specialist, there are things that we are seeing out there. And can you just probably help us or show the trends that are happening right now when it comes to drug and substance abuse? What are the trends that you have seen and where are the problem areas?
Yeah, the trends, like Floyd, especially last week, we realized about 3 young children below the age of 12 who committed suicide after being reprimanded by caregivers, guardians, or parents. Like a young girl, grade 7, she was just asked to do some house chores and she wasn't happy with it and she took her life. So I would like to point it to the idea of the collapse of the family system, where we are having parents having other people take care of their responsibilities while they fetch for the family, or they look for greener pastures. You see the emergence of diaspora orphans, where parents are out there in the UK, wherever, and they have some people take care of parental roles. So you find children are looking for those answers in empty spaces. They don't believe that my mother's sister is my mother. So even if they get everything, they're like, why am I that child who doesn't have their parents, both parents at their house? So they get things, they get access to media, access to internet, and they have money in their pockets. So they're tempted to try new things, and before we know it, it's now like a whole pandemic.
A whole pandemic it is. From your experience, what are the measures that the Zimbabwean government is taking to address this pandemic, so to speak?
So many systems are there. We even have now the in-school guidance and counseling that is aimed at drug and substance prevention. But we all cannot control children's access to the substances, because these people who feed on them are business people. So the purpose of running any business is to make profit. So a profiteer would look at a green color like that and say, how can I get a different shade of green that will attract new customers, that will get me more money? So as much as we are chasing them, maybe we say, now they are giving them in sweets. They've already changed their modus operandi. They already come up with something very new. But as someone who comes from a traditional belief, a cultural belief, I think we should expand what we call family to our children as they grow up. We grew up in an era where even a woman from the neighborhood could beat me up for being mischievous. So now it's us, the current generation parents, who say, I'm exposed, I'm learned, I have this and this. I don't want someone to show my children the way. That way, if I believe my grandmother is a witch, I'll make sure my children don't visit my witchy grandmother. It's people like him that lead masses, and they have more voices out there. So the pastor would tell you, the Mrois, the what. So my children grew up just knowing me and my husband and the nuclear family. And now they don't respect anyone besides their parents and the system, the school system, or the church.
The church apostle.
It's coming back to me.
Yes.
Yes.
What should we be doing as the church, or what should we see the church doing to support the congregation that they have, the sheep that they are shepherding, to make sure that they are not blaming the society that is supposed to support the individuals that are now going into substance abuse?
Yeah, I think a lot of people could be in ministry for the wrong reason. I love the fact that she said, by the time at not my drugs are my sweets, mangwana chocolate. So people are doing all sorts of things to make ends meet. So we also have those people in Christendom, just like any organization. So, but when you look at the biblical template, we don't find that. I don't believe in demonic consultation. I believe in the existence of the devil. I believe in the existence of demons. But I don't believe in demons being called by someone's name. You see that? So we deal with the devil individually or separately. We love our families. We love our relatives. You'll be surprised that even the parents also might have some kind of demonic influence.
Yes.
So tikadonyaso famba nedoctrine iroro muchiona kuti mwana anotosara asina kana munhu, even isusu wacho hatowirirani pachedu because pane mweya uripo. So I point that to some kind of ignorance. I encourage everyone to also read their Bible and see if whatever is being preached or taught aligns to what Jesus said.
I'm going to pose this to almost both of you, but on a spiritual sense and an actual counseling sense, in the sense that, is there a way to address the issues that we are seeing in drug and substance abuse in a way that we can sort of give rehab to the victims or the abusers of drugs? I'll start with you, Apostle.
Yeah, I really believe there's a lot to be done. That's one thing for sure. But it boils back to what I just said, I think in the first segment, that we need to create an environment, a structure that, some of these things, they are caused by an idle mind, lack of purpose, lack of identity. So who gives that identity are the parents, the church, and the society as a whole. So tikagadzira structures ku church ezvinhu zvinodiwa nemayouths, but in a godly way. I really believe kuti they would then realize what life really is, because this is not life. At the end of the day, you are destroying your health, you are destroying your relationship, you are destroying your future by not even going to school and reacting in a certain way to people are supposed to guide you.
Mental health, Eunice, I'm coming to you. Is there a way that society can actually accept these people once they have gone through their counseling, they've gone through rehab? Because you'll find that a lot are going through the rehab, and then society says, uyu aishandisa uyu mudrug abuser. Is there a way?
Stigma and discrimination.
Yeah.
I don't think the society needs to, I don't think those people need to do something. It's the society that needs to accept itself. We find it very hard to accept that we are part of the failing system. We are in a society that is infiltrated by, we don't demonize people, by this bad behavior that is running out of control. So when we accept it as a family that, okay, we have a brother, we have a sister who is taking drugs and they're going through so and so, we go back to the basics. We used to have those strong ties with our holidays. Oshika, Oenda, Kumusha, you do like the shows of the rural homestead. The mind, unfortunately, has been trained to conceptualize millions of ideas. So, like what the pastor is saying, Apostle, sorry, I don't know.
It is all.
Right. This idea of idleness is because it's me, screen time, phone time, but where's the whole family system? Where is my go-to angry moments? We used to know that if I'm angry, I'm going to cover myself in a steaming bucket, kunatira, that has been popularized by COVID. Those are our own anger management systems within our cultural settings. They are not religious. They are there to manage mental health breaking points.
All right.
So, back to basics.
So there you have it. There are systems that we set in place culturally that were there to help us to manage our communities. Where have they gone? We'll be back right after the break. Welcome back to the show, The Chat Box, and we are talking about drug and substance abuse. The conversation is getting heated, where we are getting some kind of direction to where we should be going as a society. I'm going to come back to you, Apostle.
Yeah.
What role do churches, schools, families, communities play in preventing, which is better than cure, preventing the drug abuse?
Yeah, the church, the family should have a good relationship, a good rapport with people. Because nowadays, you can be in a society where no one will even know what's going on in your life. Mwana ntongouya otongofamba straight achifura mudhining maswera say hatombogari pasi akananga kuroom kwake, and no one bothers to get into that room to find out what's going on. Yes, kana mwana anouya pamba kana kuti na 10 o'clock achitonoka padova achitovhura achitoti wadzoka vachitomaaccepta. So there are things that we are accepting that somehow we are contributing to the problem we have. Like I told you before that hatina problem yama 2000, tina problem yevabereki
vema
2000.
Yes, my 80s babies.
You see what I'm saying? So I mean, we can do that. And also in church is not just a place where we deal with spiritual stuff. I think much 70% of church, 70% of the ministry of Jesus was teaching. It had to do with building a mindset, a way of thinking. We need a real practical gospel in church that can help people mentally as well. Because before the gospel can touch your spirit, it has to be psychological enough to help your mind. And so forth. So that's what I really feel must be done.
Eunice, I want to come back to you when you spoke about culture. I thought that was something that we can actually go into. Now, Apostle is saying that we need to talk to the individual and really before the gospel goes in. But a lot of people have really taken away culture and the gospel and made it two different things. What do you think in the mental health space can be done to really have the gospel speak and culture at home speak at the same time?
It goes back to the current generation of parents, like we are saying, like I'm a 90s, I'm a 80s. We grew up in an environment where things were set up for us. Now we don't understand that we are the systems that we ever wanted. We are the ones that are going to employ our children, the children we paid school fees for. So instead of us focusing on the early retirement operandi, okay, we can do this and then I will retire and my child will take care of themselves. The world is evolved. We need to make sure, like he's saying, be in contact and allow your child to be an individual besides you giving birth to them. That's number one. Number two, when we look at culture, I think in my few knowledge about theology, there is actually a whole doctrine that speaks about a person's identity. In African setup, we have our own systems that helped build the church. All churches you find in African communities would identify individuals who were able to create change. So you cannot say we want to change the behaviors of the young people if you yourself do not have a behavior change plan for your community, for your constituencies. So if we are to look at children, the gospel and culture, I'm actually one of his followers. I don't actively follow you.
Thank you.
Once I do that, I'm like, okay, I don't like religious because I think religion ties people down.
Okay.
I'm more spiritual.
All right.
So culturally as well, even people from the African traditional religion have exposed young people to a lot of drug and substance abuse. And the doctrine there, like where someone behaves as if somebody else is speaking through them, has been associated with certain behaviors that kind of promote the abuse of drugs and alcohol. So it is the role of those people who are leaders within their religions, whatever, Jewish, whatever, to have a connection with their creator and say, I want to behave like this and I want to be able to accommodate the young people that are around me and be with them when they are in those moments where they feel like, I want some out of space experience. Because that's where they...
So after what you've said, they want an out of space experience. What is your final word or advice to the youths out there and to the parents?
To the parents, modern parenting is not easy. It's maybe double than what your parents did. You need to be so much ahead and do both the parenting and the leadership before everybody else comes in. To the children, we love you and we know you are the leaders of this world. You are the teachers, you are the pastors, you are the best therapists ever there. We are ready to listen, we don't judge.
We are ready to listen, we don't judge. Apostle, your final words as we close off.
I'm going to be blunt.
Yes.
So, iwe benzi, usaid to baba wako ashaye mfaro. Baba, if you didn't take responsibility of your child, muchagadzira chinokubvisa mfaro mangwana. Pray for your children and be responsible parents.
There you go. The responsibility basically is on all of us as a community pushing forward. I mean, the government can only do so much. You can only do so much, but together we can. Until next time, this is the Chat Box. My name is Kim Sabanda. Until next time, bye-bye for now.